I have come across many other film fans out there, and I've made a list of the 10 types of film fans. Now, these are in no particular order, by the way, and this is not a set in stone, like everyone has to fit into a box type of list. These are not the 10 commandments. This is more of a fluid list, and I think for myself, I have been almost every single one of these types of film fans, at least at one point or another in my life. And to be fair, I'm gonna go through every single film fan, talk about their benefits to interacting with them, and their drawbacks. So even the film fans that I might not be the biggest fan of, I will have some benefits for them too. So let's get started with number 1, the blockbuster enthusiast. Blockbuster enthusiasts are passionate about the mainstream movies, the high budget movies, and generally the movies that dominate the box office. The franchises, the superhero films, the action-packed movies, the spectacle, seeing the movie on the big screen, IMAX lovers, first day, first in line, getting that ticket. These are your blockbuster enthusiasts. So the benefits of the blockbuster enthusiasts are, number 1, they are always up to date. In my own personal life, I know friends who are very up to date with these mainstream movies. They are blockbuster enthusiasts, and we will be talking and I'll be like, oh yeah, when's that movie coming out? They know. So it's always nice to have them around because they will always keep you informed. Number 2, broad appeal. So when a big movie comes out, everyone's talking about it, you know that they've seen it too. Let's just say Indiana Jones 6 comes out. It's like, oh, did you see Indiana Jones 6? Of course they have. It's not like some friends who are like, oh yeah, I'll see it eventually. Maybe I'll see it on streaming. They'll see it right away and you can talk to them about it. And number 3, general excitement. Now, you guys know that I've been off the Marvel hype train for a very long time, but I still have lots of friends who are on the Marvel hype train. And when they're talking about the new Captain America movie, I go, you know what? It'd be nice to see another Captain America movie. I can't wait to see it. I want to be excited about it. They definitely boost my excitement for it. And I go, you know what? That Marvel hype train doesn't look too bad. They encourage me to get back on the hype train, which is fun. They're not just negative Nellies. The drawbacks, number 1, limited scope. They normally just stick to the American Hollywood blockbuster. No independent films, no foreign cinema, not your little niche movie. Nah, they don't really talk about that. So if you see that, they won't really want to talk about that too much. And number 2, repetitiveness. Because they only really stick to one type of movie, discussions might seem boring, repetitive. It's like, oh, it's another Marvel movie, it's another Star Wars movie, another blockbuster, right? The conversation might not be as nuanced as with other film fans. So that's the blockbuster enthusiast. Number 2, the film snob. The film snob is the person who possesses a really deep, rich understanding of cinema and really focuses more on the critically acclaimed movies rather than the mainstream fare. They don't really care about how much money a movie makes. They want to see the movie that the critics are raving about. The award winners, the Oscar bait, the art house films, the foreign films. They focus on more of the classics, and they definitely voice their disdain for the blockbuster movie. And their discussions will often include references to obscure directors and very technical terms and really intricate film theories. So the benefits of interacting with a film snob is that they have very in-depth knowledge. It really does make you think more about the movie that you're actually watching rather than just talking about how good the popcorn was and going, yeah, I loved it. It was great. There's a bunch of fighting and dino action, right? The new Jurassic Park, there was lots of dinosaurs. It was cool. They'll have a deeper understanding of why that film worked with film theory and, composition of the shots and the structure of the story. They'll know more about it than just the surface level enjoyment. Number 2, their exposure to quality cinema. They'll go searching for that little independent film that aired at this film festival that might be really, really great, but no one's talking about it because everyone's seeing the next Marvel movie. In other words, they find the movies that might go just unnoticed to the general public. And number 3, their critical perspective. I often find that whenever I talk with my really smart film friends, I find myself with a deeper understanding and more of a critical eye going, you know what? I never noticed that before. And it kind of makes you feel a little bit smarter, but they help you sharpen your analytical skills. It's basically like the whole birds of a feather flock together. You hang out with 5 smokers, you'll be the 6th. You hang out with 5 people who work out all the time, and you'll be the 6th. You talk with 5 people who really understand film. They've read all the books about film theory, and you will learn a bit more too. The drawbacks, number 1, this is a big one, elitism. Trust me, I went to film school with hundreds of these people. There is a lot of elitism in this group. Their conversations can definitely feel condescending And if you don't agree with them, or if maybe you like a film that they really hate, you kind of feel stupid, and they will make you feel stupid about it, and they will have no qualms about doing so. It's like, what, you think this? And number 2, narrow focus. Their disdain for the mainstream cinema can definitely feel exclusionary and, like I said before, just very overly critical. Quick little story, we were having a discussion in film school just for fun, like this wasn't with the teacher. We were talking about, do you like Avatar more or Titanic more? And this one guy, and I will say he's a great filmmaker. He was probably the best filmmaker in the class, but he knew it. And he said in his broken English, if I had to remake the 2 towers in New York City and make them full of shit, I would name one Titanic and I'd name one Avatar. And I go, yes, dude, you're extremely talented, but no one knows who the hell you are. James Cameron is quite a popular dude and he's pretty talented, but he's like, nah, they're shit. Nah, The guy is talented though, so, you know, if I said that. Now, going just a little bit adjacent to the film snob is number 3, the pretentious hipster. So the pretentious hipster definitely aligns with the disdain to mainstream cinema like the film snob, but they have an added level of trendiness to their disdain. They definitely prefer the obscure movie. They love the underground movie, the cult movie. And their film discussions definitely have this vibe of really trying to feel unique and different and unlike anybody else. But of course, when you meet 100 of them, there's often a very big similarity between all of them, but I digress. The benefits for the pretentious hipster. Number 1 is that you can discover hidden gems. Like the film snob, they might know a movie that you've never even heard of and can introduce you to a great movie that's off the beaten path. Number 2 is that they have cultural insight. These fans definitely have their finger on the pulse when it comes to emerging trends that might not be the mainstream, but they know that one director that might get hot before the mainstream Hollywood crowd does. Because again, a lot of these directors, I feel like anyways, who get the big Marvel projects were indie filmmakers beforehand. And number 3, creative discussions. You know, they are unconventional. Let me tell you that. It's not like talking to the Blockbuster enthusiast. So sometimes you just need a little bit of strange. And sometimes talking about movies with these kind of people, you see just a totally different side than, your average moviegoer. Now the drawbacks. Number 1, they seem superficial. Sometimes their preferences, to me anyway, especially in film school, their appreciation for movies feel like they just are not genuine. They feel like they have to like these things to fit a certain image, fit a certain aesthetic. And number 2, exclusivity. Oh, you wouldn't understand this. Yeah, stick with your Marvel movies. Oh, you haven't heard of this guy? It's the classic hipster stereotype, and unfortunately, these people do exist. Number 4 is the genre specialist. Pretty simple. Someone who just really loves one type of movie. I find that there's a lot of horror fans out there who just watch horror, or like YouTube channels or film pages, film blogs that are all about horror. I find that that is the most popular genre specialist out there, but we have people who love rom-coms, action movies, westerns. They have a lot of knowledge about that genre's history, who were the first trailblazers in that genre, who were the first filmmakers, what were the first movies, the actors who do particularly well in that genre. And these are the type of people I find, will go to the cons, they'll do cosplay, or they'll, be in these specific fan forums for that genre. They're a bit more niche than just the Blockbuster enthusiast that just likes everything, that just loves nerd culture, you know what I mean? So benefit number 1, expertise. They know everything about this genre. And what's good about that for me anyways is I'd like to see a rom-com. Of course you have the big ones, When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, both Meg Ryan movies, you know what I mean? It's I want to see a rom-com. What's a movie that's kind of off the beaten path? A movie that not many people talk about, and they go, oh, I got one. So they know their stuff when it comes to that particular genre. Number 2 is their passion. Much like the Blockbuster enthusiast, their passion is very infectious. I personally like being around those types of people because it's oh yeah, I'm excited about this too. It's a lot more fun than everyone who just hates everything. And number 3 is community. Like I said before, being friends with these guys and talking about movies with them can introduce you to a really big community of very welcoming people. And again, not a genre, but I find that, to me anyways, the most welcoming community was the James Bond community. A lot of James Bond, content creators and fan pages and YouTube channels, they have been the most welcoming people to me anyway on the internet, much more than Star Wars. Like, wow. Now for the drawbacks. Number one, they have tunnel vision. Have you seen this action movie? No, I only watch rom-coms. I only watch westerns. I only watch horror. So you know that when you talk to them, you have to talk about a certain type of film, and that's it. And sometimes I want to have different flavors of ice cream. And number two is bias. Now, sometimes when a movie comes out that will be in the same genre, they will just automatically love it. 5 out of 5, and any other movie, 1 out of 5, it wasn't this genre. And I find that, you can't really have a very critical or in-depth discussion about these things when there's that much of bias going on. Now, yes, we are all 100% biased in some way, shape, or form when talking about movies, but it can get very intense here. Number 5 is the casual viewer. And to be honest, most people I think we will meet in our lives are this type, the casual viewer. The casual viewer enjoys watching a movie from time to time, but they don't care to really delve into the history of cinema or the technical aspects of cinema, or necessarily know every actor's name, know even who directed the damn thing. They're just like, ooh, that looks good, I'll go see that. Oh, I liked it, and that's it. They don't need to know who wrote it. They don't need to know where they've seen that actor before and other things. They don't really care. They don't really need to know that kind of stuff. They watch movies for entertainment and relaxation. Something to do when you're not at work, you want to, let off some steam. Let's watch a movie. And generally the movies that they stick to are easygoing, accessible, and pretty mainstream. The benefits of talking to these people is that they're very straightforward. They're very accessible, and it's not intimidating to talk to these people, because if you're a cinephile, chances are you know more about films than these people do, which is not a good or bad thing, by the way. It's not like you're better than these people. They just, will watch movies from time to time. And they're not going to be super egotistical about it. They're not going to be elitist about it. They're just going to tell you what they think, straightforward. Number 2, diverse tastes. Sometimes they'll watch a movie like James Bond, then they'll watch the Best Picture winner or the Best Cinematography winner at the Oscars, then they'll watch a rom-com, then they'll watch a musical. They'll watch pretty much anything. Sure, they stick to some certain genres, but sometimes they'll go, you know what, I'll watch that. They don't have a certain bias or that tunnel vision as some film fans do. And number 3, a relaxed approach. Kind of like what I said earlier, their conversations are very stress-free and very lighthearted. No harm, no foul. Did you like it? Yes, no, doesn't really matter. Let's just have a good time talking about it. Now the drawbacks. Number 1, a lack of depth. Like I said, they don't care who directed the thing. They don't care what the story of that type of film was about, like the pre-production. They don't care about the technical aspects of things or the history of the genre, whatever the case may be. They don't really care about that. It's not a very depthful conversation. It's just very surface level, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes it is kind of nice to talk about the film in greater detail. And drawback number 2, sometimes they will have limited recommendations, because it's like, well, maybe you're a cinephile and you want to see something new. And they go, oh, I've seen this and this and this recently. And you go, yeah, I've seen it all. So yeah, there's nothing really they can recommend to you if you watch everything, right? Film fan number 6 is the nostalgia buff. I find that a lot of dads are like this. It's like, oh, my dad loves movies. I find that whenever I hear that phrase, they generally fall into this category. So nostalgia buffs, they love movies from a certain time period as opposed to a certain genre. And generally speaking, it's because they grew up with that type of movie. It's their childhood movie, their formative years movies. They love that certain era. I find that, people who are a little bit older than me, oh, they love the 90s movie, the 90s teen movie, right? People who are a little bit younger, who are still on YouTube, and people I talk to all the time, they love the superhero movies because that's what they grew up with. Our uncles and aunts who love movies, they love the 80s, they love the John Hughes movies, they love the Sylvester Stallone movies, you know what I mean? John Wayne is another one that I hear a lot from dads I know. And for me personally, I find that people go like, oh, movies today suck. They're not like when I was a kid. You know what I mean? They will just rewatch the movies that they grew up with and talk about them with such great fondness and detail. And again, like I said at the beginning, I feel like all of us have been this guy. Benefit number 1 is that they have some historical perspective. They can talk about what it was like to watch this movie when it came out. And sometimes just because you were born at a certain time, you will never have that experience. I will never know what it was like to see Jurassic Park opening weekend. I do know what it's like to see it in a theater when they do re-releases, but I will never know the original hype. Someone who watched that opening weekend, they will know about it. And they might know a lot about that kind of movie at that certain time. Something that we might be able to read about or learn about, but never actually experience. Number 2, appreciation for the classics. They're not just gonna be following every single trend, every single movie that comes out. It's the greatest movie ever. No, they're not going to be like that. Sure, some people might be a bit more distasteful towards the new blockbusters or the new movies or even just newer indie underground films. They'll go, you know what? Nothing was like these ones. And again, like if you weren't born at that time, you might not even hear about those movies and find something truly special. You know, for example, I didn't even know what Clueless was. Never even heard of it until one of my older friends was like, you never even heard of it? Let's watch it right now. And I fell in love with it. So thank you to the nostalgia buff for recommending that movie to me. And number 3, emotional connection. Again, kind of unlike the film snob, their recommendations will come from something like, you know what, I really loved this growing up and I still love it today and I think that you would like it. You know, their recommendations come from a good place. The drawbacks, number 1, like I said before, resistance to new films. Sometimes people get so set in their ways that they won't even try anything new, even though the new stuff might be pretty good. And number 2, the rose-tinted glasses effect. You know, sometimes when I go back and I watch a movie, you know, from back when, like another good example is Jumanji. I don't like that movie. I don't like the original Jumanji movie at all. And then you hear this phrase, and this is my favorite. Well, you had to be a kid to see it. So it's like, what? I can't watch that movie anymore. That movie's just like dead to me now. Hook is another one. This is like from the 90s. Like, you know, I'm born in 95, so I just missed it. People will say like, oh, that movie's the greatest movie of all time. How can you not see it? And then I, you know, say why I don't like the movie. Again, more power to people who do. And they go, oh, it's because you weren't around back then. That's why. Like, you're doomed, kind of a deal, right? Like, they will just always love their emotional movies from the past, you know, with these rose-tinted glasses. And again, everyone does it. I do it. Spider-Man 2 is still my favorite superhero movie of all time. It's because I saw it when I was 9 years old and I had a great time with it. And even still, like, I'm trying to think, would there be any other superhero movie that would top it? I don't know. That nostalgia, it's very, very, very powerful. Number 7, the aspiring filmmaker / film critic. Aspiring filmmakers are deeply involved in the making of the film. They talk about, oh, they used this camera angle here. Oh, they wrote this scene this way. They're really involved in the making of the movie and really pick up on things like that. They watch films with like a critical eye, analyzing the directing styles, the story structure. And these fans are often active in creating their own films or are starting their own film critic pages, like I was. Benefit number 1, they have many technical insights. They will know more about what kind of camera they used on set. I can guarantee you that I would say 90% of just the average moviegoer will not understand that or even know any of that information. Number 2, creative inspiration. You know, these people are actively trying to create things, right? You know, people can just comment away about how much a movie sucks, but it's one thing to make a video about it or write it down on a blog or create a movie of their own. Like, there is an added level of appreciation to art when you are creating it yourself. And number 3, analytical discussions, right? This is more of like the creative, in-depth type of discussion. Like, they understand a lot of these technical terms. They understand a lot of the nuances of filmmaking, and it adds for a more interesting, rich discussion. The drawbacks, number 1, technical jargon. Even me, with my 4-year film degree, sometimes I would be talking to these people and I go, I don't know what the heck you're saying. I don't really care about, you know, the mise-en-scène and how it's, you know, oh, this is like Shakespearean writing, but in a contemporary setting. And I go, I don't really care about that. I find the film boring, right? And one example, there was one short film that we had to work on and another one of my colleagues made. And I still to this day have no idea what the characters were talking about because they're talking in this like metaphorical, like it was almost like a different language. Like he was trying so hard to make it sound smart. And some filmmakers in the class were like, oh, I get it. This is a nod to Greek mythology. And I go, hold on a minute. I have no idea what's going on. And I can guarantee you that when we show this film at our final screening to all of our parents and friends, most of these people will not understand this. And I find that a lot of filmmakers I ran into forgot they were making movies for an audience as opposed to their film professors for a film school report card. And again, I don't want to, shit on this person, right? He was a very talented filmmaker and he did do some really good things, but I find that is kind of a drawback where they're like, oh, I only talk with other film students. This is just kind of like the world that I know. And drawback number 2, too much of a critical eye. Sometimes people can get so into the details that they forget about the overall enjoyment of a movie. And sometimes there's a plot hole in a movie. Sometimes you can talk about the science and it doesn't really make sense, or a certain camera angle might look better a certain way. But when I find that people are actively searching for those things, they can't actually sit back and watch the movie and enjoy it. And trust me guys, I've heard this on every single video I've ever made. Dude, shut the hell up, man. Just enjoy it. Why you gotta be a hater? So I get the criticism to that criticism. Sometimes I really do feel like some of those nitpicks can get a little overboard. And I have been guilty of this too. But there's a spectrum, right? Film fan number 8, the uncritical enthusiast. More derogatory terms exist. The film snob might call this person a dumb, but let me explain a little bit more. The uncritical enthusiast, basically in a nutshell, loves every movie that they watch. No matter what movie it is, no matter how long it is, what it's about, if they watch it, they love it. And in a kind of a weird way, it is like a superpower. Imagine this. You've never seen a bad movie in your life. Sounds pretty great, right? But talking with these types of people, it might not be the most fun thing, because it's like, well, should I go see it? Of course, it's a movie. Go see it. It's great. Like, oh, my popcorn wasn't very good though, but the movie was great, even though it was 7 hours long and it was, really boring, but I had a great time. You know what I mean? Like, they have no criticisms whatsoever. And these film fans can often be stereotyped as having very low standards or being very easily manipulated by marketing, by hype. You see one cameo, oh my gosh, it's that person, I love it. The people who scream and are like, I love movies so much. I just love movies. I'm gonna tweet about it at 3 a.m. And I know film critics who do this. They will tweet at 3 a.m. I love movies. Great. Good job. You know what I mean? So there are some benefits. Again, this is where it gets like, you gotta play devil's advocate here. Benefits, positive energy. You gotta admit that they have positive energy. They're like Tom Cruise at a movie theater, like, hey, let's go. We're gonna watch a movie. It's gonna be a great time. Let's do this. So again, like, hey, thumbs up for being positive. Number 2, open-mindedness to a certain extent. No matter what movie it is, they'll give it a try and they'll like it. So again, that's all I got. And number 3, enjoyment focused. These people do not have a critical eye. So you're not gonna find like the nitpicker in this type of film fan. They're just gonna want to enjoy their time and, discuss the movie afterwards. Like, oh, I like this part. It was so awesome when this happened. So again, it's generally a good time when you're talking to this person because they're always having a good time. And yeah, but there are some drawbacks though. Number 1, a severe lack of critical discussion, because you can't have one with someone who loves everything. And number 2, easily influenced. It feels like every trailer, oh my goodness, I can't believe that's coming out. You know what I mean? Every movie is, oh my, the greatest movie ever. And trust me, I've met some of these people in film school. Every movie that they watched, every single opening weekend, that was like the best movie I've ever seen. But that's the thing though, I remember Syndrome in The Incredibles. If everyone's super, then no one will be. If every movie is amazing, then no movie is amazing. And even people who don't do this, I know some film critics who give out that 5 out of 5 rating, in my opinion anyway, way too much. And I go, that kind of dilutes the quality of your rating, at least in my opinion. If every movie's good, then I can't ask you your opinion because I don't feel like it's a genuine one. But on the flip side of that, there's number 9, the cynic critic. They hate everything. They find extreme joy in nitpicking every single aspect of a film. Every single one. And by the way, I find that these people have never been on a film set in their life. Ever. They focus on the plot holes, on the continuity errors. They'll talk about how every actor is miscast, terrible direction, it was too long, it was too boring, and any perceived shortcoming that the film may have, they'll dismiss the entire movie. yeah, movie sucked. I can't believe that in Pirates of the Caribbean, the boat definitely exploded before the other boat hit it. This movie's so terrible. Like, oh, who even likes this garbage? These fans derive satisfaction from shit movies. Simply put. The benefits with these people, and again, this is really reaching. Critical analysis. They can definitely bring you down to earth sometimes, because sometimes I have been caught too saying that a movie is amazing, 5 out of 5, opening weekend, and then, you see it again, and you talk to this person, and you go, well, you know what? That doesn't actually make much sense. That doesn't make much sense. Don't you think that this doesn't really work? And you go, you know what? Yeah, there are some flaws with this movie. It kind of brings you down to earth a little bit, but sometimes these people really want you to just hate the movie, no matter what it is. Number 2 is attention to detail. That's another benefit, I guess, is because, they will have that critical eye and they will notice everything. Like, there was one, and I can't remember the plot hole, but one guy said a plot hole for Minority Report. I met him at the screening of Tenet, and he was talking about, kind of like confusing or intricate plots, and he was talking about Minority Report, and he gave me a plot hole, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie's ruined. I feel like I just didn't want to think about it because I didn't want the film to be ruined, because I love Minority Report. But that's the thing though, right? Like, that's a fault on me too, kind of, not really wanting to think about it because I love this movie so much. I find that people get really upset when you don't like a movie that they like, because it's like, oh no, I don't want to hate this movie. But sometimes seeing that attention to detail can give you a more balanced approach. And which leads me into benefit number 3, reality check. Not every movie is amazing. Not every single movie is the best movie of all time. Not every movie is perfect, and these people will remind you of that. But the drawbacks, and yeah, I feel like I've run into a lot of these people on the internet because I feel like it's so easy to be negative online, and I think it is a defense mechanism for insecurity. But yes, drawback number 1, negativity. They have nothing nice to say ever. And with that, if you're around negative people too much, it's draining. And I found that I don't want to talk to these people about films. Even a film I don't even like. I don't want to talk about films I don't like. I want to talk about films I do like. And you just can't do that with these people. And drawback number 2, the dismissive attitude. Even if they notice that a film has a positive aspect, I feel like they just are too afraid to even say it. And like, I would even ask some people like, oh, did you like this action sequence? And they go, well, yeah, I guess so, but that doesn't make a good movie. Sure, but just one bad scene doesn't make a bad movie either. They always look at the movie, or just life in general, I find, the glass is half empty. So why drink it at all? And you know what? I was thinking about this as well. Let's call this like Film Fan 9.5, the contrarian. Just, if you love a movie, they hate it. If you hate a movie, they love it. And these people, I think, are just screaming for attention. And ever notice this? They will never actually answer the question, what did you think about this movie, until they hear your answer first, so they can base their opinion on what you say. But of course, when they talk about, film discussion in a group of people, that's when their opinions really start to crumble, because it's like, oh crap, hey, I thought you liked this movie. Oh, well, I was talking to this person, and oh, I didn't, you know what I mean? They're full of shit, basically. But number 10, and I see this fan the absolute most, and I think this fan is the absolute worst. Number 10, the opinion enforcer. The opinion enforcer cannot fathom how anyone else can have any different opinion to any film ever. Simply put, they are very, very, very vocal about their opinions on a certain movie, and if you disagree, they will be extremely aggressive, mean, rude, and just be the biggest to anyone who disagrees with them. Their discussions are completely characterized with a 100% intolerance to any differing opinion. So, yeah. What? You like this? I didn't like this. You're a idiot. So benefits of these people. Number 1, they do have strong convictions. You know what they think, and there's no doubt. Number 2, they are passionate. Even though in the wrong way, they will let you know how they feel about a movie, and you will know they are extremely excited to tell you how much they hated something, or how much they loved something, and how great a certain film was. But, oh, you better agree with them. You better be in the same boat as them, or else they be angry. And number 3, clear stance. you know, oh, I thought you liked this. Oh, I thought you liked this. Oh, you know that this person likes this type of movie. You know that this person hates this kind of movie. You always know where they stand. And the drawbacks, it's simple. Intolerance. An inability to accept that someone might think differently than they do. Number 2, closed-mindedness. They've made up their mind. Nope. They won't hear anything else. Oh, but you know what? You missed this, but if you think about the film in this way, I don't want to hear it. I made up my mind. The movie sucks, and you can't tell me otherwise. Or opposite to that, a big fanboy. Oh, I love this movie. I don't care what the critics are saying. 5 out of 5 movie. The third Fantastic Beasts movie is amazing. You guys know what you're talking about. You guys are not real fans. The opinion enforcer can also be someone who just defends a film from the haters as well. And number 3, conflict. They don't actually like to have discussions about film. They love to have fights about film. Yes, it's all fine and dandy when you agree with them on a certain movie, but I find that they don't actually want you to agree. They actually like the conflict. They want to fight with people. And I think that that is so disturbing because I think that's a deep-rooted issue. And again, I don't want to turn into a therapist on you. You know, I feel like with people who just want to find chaos, they need it in their lives because that's what they're used to. So I feel kind of sorry for these people, to be honest. So in conclusion, the world of film discussion is very dynamic, very diverse. You're gonna meet a ton of different types of people in different areas as well. Online, especially, is a big one. In film forums, Comic-Con, film school, your everyday life, different cinephile friends, whatever the case may be, you will find a lot of different types of people who like films in different ways. And like I said earlier, I feel like I've been at least one time or another every single one of these film fans, for better or for worse. And yes, I have been that film snob when I was, 14 years old. How do you like this? And I look back at that time of my life and I am like, oh God, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And I feel like on YouTube, I've done a pretty good job at accepting others' opinions. And man, I'll tell you this though, even I will hear some opinions and I go, I just can't get there, man. There was one commenter who used to comment on my videos a lot, and they would talk about like their favorite films of all time and their least favorite films of all time, and they would talk about how their favorite film of all time was Baywatch with Zac Efron, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I haven't seen it, so I can't knock on the movie, and their least favorite film of all time was Skyfall. By far the worst movie they've ever seen. And I'm like, I can't get there. That's another opinion where I hear it and I go, I just don't see what you're seeing. And I think, like, oh, is this person stupid or is this person just being a contrarian? The guy might actually think that. And if that's the case, if you have a genuine opinion, you like a movie that everyone hates or hate a movie that everyone loves, and it's a genuine opinion, more power to you. But it's the trying to fit into a certain group. It's trying to look different. It's trying to appease a certain audience, whatever the case may be. If it's a disingenuous reaction, that's what I have a problem with. So like whatever you like, hate whatever you want to hate, but make sure that it's a real opinion. That's my advice to you guys, and that's the advice that I try to hold myself accountable to. So what type of film fan are you watching this video? What type of film fans do you guys like to talk to? Which ones do you guys not like to talk to? Are there any others that I missed? Let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to my Patreon members. Link is down below. It's a great time every single month where we get together and watch movies, so it's a lot of fun. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.